the Avalon City Council meeting of December 6th, which will also include the Avalon Housing Authority. If we may stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could just stand for a minute to remember Helen Fell and Ron Burkham, who've passed away both in the last couple of weeks. Okay, please be seated. And Denise, if we may have the roll call, please.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Here.
And Mayor Marshall?
Here. And now we will have the bear presentation.
The bear? You mean the bus driver? Yeah.
He's so funny.
Oh. There's the bear. Oh, nice. He's getting a haircut.
That's good. Follow the bear.
Hi. Hey. Hi, Chris.
Okay, hello everybody. My name's Deputy Ken Yanechko. This is the second time we've been before you guys, and thank you for having us today. We've got 13 children here. 2 were unable to make it to the graduation, and we have the bear with us today as well. We're just going to go through this real quick. These are some awesome kids, once again. Great graduation, great 5 weeks in the program. We also have a special guest today, too, Cliff Haig from the Catalina Island Foundation. He's going to be doing a presentation at the end of the graduation ceremony. So I will turn it over to the Mayor.
Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for participating. You hold your applause to the end. And please excuse me if I slaughter your name. Okay? So this is you, Michael. You did. Nevaeh Blank. Diana. Crystal. Abigail. Go, Abigail. Lisa. Vanessa. Stephanie, are you our youngest member there? Lionel. Francisco. Wallace. Kate. And Zachary. Congratulations.
Okay, and so to just be really quick here, this is our 46th graduates of the program so far. We've got another 70 still on our waiting list. This class was special because we had our first all-girl class, which was really cool. We had 8 girls. And this class was also special because it became more of a community event. We had 4 parents that actually came in every day and helped out with the kids. So that made it even that much more special. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Cliff Haig.
Thanks, Ken. I just wanted to let the council know that I was at the mole and ran into Ken, and we just got talking by the mole, and he started telling me about this incredible program where the kids in town were getting the opportunity to get their own bike, but in order to get it, they had to take it apart completely, all the way down to the parts, clean it, put in spare parts, fix it up, and then build it back again. And at the end of the story that Ken was telling me, I was just vibrating. I was so excited about it because I could see the potential for building self-confidence in these kids, self-reliance, inspiring them, and also building a close relationship between the kids in Avalon and the Sheriff's Department. So he also told me that without any advertising, they'd already put maybe over 40 kids through the program, but without advertising, there's now a waiting list of over 70. And with over 70 kids and the Sheriff's Youth Foundation, who's funded it so far, kind of tapped out for this year, I said, let's see what the Catalina Island Foundation can do. So we have are making a donation to the Bear program of $2,500. That will help to hopefully put a big dent in the waiting list for the classes. And we're hoping that someone else in town or some other organization can step up, because we've got to get all 70 of those through. And I'm, really, really, really excited about it. So congratulations to all you guys for accomplishing what you did. There we go. And
All right, thank you. Nice.
here's the check. All right.
Nice, guys.
Thanks.
And thank you all for coming out.
Oh, sure.
Get in there, baby.
Can't back up any further.
That's great. All right.
Well done.
Thank you.
Joe, you stop the clock.
What's up, Wally?
Oh, there's some pretty snazzy helmets, too. I like those.
Yeah, this is nice.
Bye, Bear.
Bye,
Thank you,
Bear.
Bear.
Bye, Cliff. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff.
Merry Christmas, Bear.
Thank you. I'm going to drive those buses.
Okay. Well, we got all that done, and it's only 1 after 1. I mean, 1 after 6. Okay, do we have any announcements? Okay, written communications? None?
Not written.
No.
Not oral.
Okay. City manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. I wanted to report to you on our meeting that you sent the city attorney and I to San Francisco to meet with representatives of the California Public Utility Commission. On Friday, the city attorney and I traveled to that meeting in San Francisco. We met with Rami Kalan, who's the director of water and audits, and Terrence Shia, who's the program and project supervisor. The meeting lasted about an hour and a half. The CPUC their staff listened to our presentation on the current situation in Avalon and our request that the tariff should be amended to reflect the reality that desalination is now an available water resource for Avalon. They also understood our request that pending the amendment to the tariff, Edison has within its power the ability to change the water rationing levels based upon the available water resources to Avalon. The CPUC staff indicated that they thought the meeting was helpful and that we had provided them with new information. They indicated that they will set up a meeting with Edison representatives. We also asked if they would be willing to have a meeting where both Edison representatives and we are present, and Mr. Kalan agreed. He thought that was a good idea. They were cordial. They listened. They seemed very interested. Of course, we don't know what they'll do. They said they would take the information that we provided them. They would evaluate it, talk with Edison, and then we would all get back together and they would have some observations and suggestions. So thank you for sending us on behalf of yourselves and the community.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the time frame on that response?
We expect, they told us it probably would be 3 to 4 weeks. They would meet first with Edison, that apparently has an office right across the street on Van Ness Avenue, across from them, and then they would bring us together and have a conversation.
Great. Excellent. Any other reports? See him? No? Okay. City attorney report.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Council member reports. Who would like to begin?
You guys always look at me.
I didn't. I was looking straight ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to announce. So I just want to ask a few questions is what I want to do. And so I was talking about water, bringing over like drinking water. And I found out after talking to Steve Batty from the waste services up at the dump. They send a barge over every couple weeks to pick up trash, and it's empty. He said he'd be glad to put water on that barge for free and ship it over. So depending on what cost me and Dennis and I can come up with, we might be able to do that in the future if we need drinking water. I'd like to ask the city manager if there's the Vaughns has met any of their conditions of approval yet.
Yes, sir.
Or they did like
They have paid the $57,000+ that we had asked them to pay as were costs that we incurred on their behalf. The city did, and so that has been paid. And we've asked for an update on their compliance with the other conditions. And we do know that Vaughn's property has now transferred a title to Safeway Vaughn's from the company. So that's another meeting of a condition, if you will.
Has anybody called you yet? Has anybody personally talked to you and asked you any questions, or from Vaughn's, like Carlos Illingsworth or?
Yeah, Carlos and I are becoming good pen pals, but he has not recently sort of talked with me or emailed me. The last communication was he said the check is in the mail, and it was. So we were delighted to hear that.
Okay, well, that's just a start.
Sir, may I?
They got dozens of other conditions.
Yeah, there's actually a big. We have not heard back from CISA nor from Vaughn's on the mitigation of noise. That is, we know, is very important, and that what we've told Vaughn's is you need to take care of that sound issue. Make people who are impacted happy in accordance with the conditions set by the council, and that would go a long way in building favorable, at least reaction on that matter, on that part of it.
Yeah, that's a really important step forward. Once you take care of the homeowners around where the store is going to be,
yes, sir.
Then we can start talking about breaking ground.
Yes, sir.
But until that's done, I don't see we're not going to go anywhere. And then my third discussion point was I've had some teachers from the school that want to catch the bus to get a ride to school, but they can't because they don't know the schedule. There's no schedule that set up yet. I did get some emails about that we're going to implement a new schedule with new time frames when the buses are going to be running, and I don't know who's proofread that or how that's going to work. And then we have an application, an app that you can get for your phone, so you can track where the buses are, so that you don't have to wait for a bus that's not going to show up. You know where it's going to be because of the application. Do you know what the time frame is on that? Because I really need to get back to these people.
I know the app. Audra McDonald, who's managing that contract, said that the app that she had contact and it was being installed or was installed, but to be specifically, I will need to get back to you when I talk to Audra tomorrow, and I will get back to you as well as the council members on that. Very good question. I don't know the answer.
Because the bus schedule was working at the first of the year, it was fine. So I don't know what happened, because they were taking it pretty well at the beginning of September. So I don't know what happened. Yeah.
It didn't coincide with the signs. The signs said some things that really misguided people who've never been here before, and they weren't able to get in touch with the bus company, and it was just really confusing. It's confusing for people that aren't familiar with the Avalon, and then people who don't want to drive. They want to actually contribute to the gearing down on all the vehicles in town. They want to either walk or catch a bus. We have this bus system in town. We just got to set up the communication with it and the signs, and once that's done, I think we'll be a little better off, and our money will be well spent at that point. But right now, they're just basically just driving around, and there's no means to an end like where we're at right now. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, the 7th, I'll be attending the Gateway Cities Transportation Committee meeting, as well as the Council the COG board meeting. And let's see, I wanted to note to Public Works that the lights on the pier look fantastic. I'm excited for Public Works and for Recreation. Dan, I know that you put a lot of work into those lights as well, so thank you. They look great. Looking forward to the other items that have been talked about as far as other areas in town and some changes to lighting there too. So it looks really good. One item that I wanted to bring up in council member report for the council to talk about, which isn't really a decision, but figured it'd be best if we could all talk about it at the same time. We have our strategic planning session on the 15th, on Thursday the 15th. That is also a day that the special meeting of the Los Angeles County City Selection Committee is meeting, and the specific appointment is for a member to the MTA board. And Oli, I believe you're the one who sits on the special selection committee, so you're actually the voter. But that vote for the position on the MTA board is made that day. Avalon has a vote, and I know that we all know how important it is for the seats on the MTA board and how the MTA funds help our community with subsidy travel and just how important this vote is. So that vote has to be made at 2:00 at that meeting. So I'm hoping we can set a time to do talk about a time to do our council goal setting. But if there's a way that we can get Oli on that 11:50 boat or 11:45 boat so that he can make that meeting, that'd be grand.
As long as the city covers any traffic tickets I get.
It's in Norwalk.
It's in Norwalk,
East Bay.
yeah.
So with that in mind, then, if we could, because I don't know, did we get a strategic planning hours yet, or did we just have the
No,
day?
no, ma'am. We have just the date.
Yeah, we have the
Okay.
day.
Whatever is convenient for you is convenient for us.
Okay, so could we do 8 to 11:30 or something like that, and then you can fly to the helicopter?
You can fly to the.
Thank you very much.
It'll take you a long time to get the helicopter if you go by boat.
Why do I want to take the helicopter? I'll get there.
The 11-something boat.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we were
11
thinking
it's
if
in
we
there
went
at
later.
1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's in there at
You just
1.
take the boat.
Yeah.
Okay. Could we? But does that work out for everyone? We do 8 o'clock.
8:00. That's fine. There.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Councilmember.
no worries. Can you pass this down? Oli?
And Councilman
The agenda.
Sampson, is that good too?
8 to 11, yeah. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Cindy.
Sure.
Woman?
And that is all I have. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I think we're still having a council meeting before the holidays, but I hope everybody in town enjoys the holiday season, all the gatherings and festivities in town.
Councilmember Hernandez.
I have nothing to say.
Okay.
I'm good. No announcements for me.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson.
I'm going to support Councilman Hernandez, and I have nothing to say either.
Okay. Well, then, Joe, it looks like you and I are the busy ones today. I would like to say I understand the city got a variance from Edison for the cemetery, for water for the cemetery. Am I making that up?
Technically, we have not used our allocation, so a variance was not granted, but we had extra water available, so we are now doing a 2-tier. We're doing both potable water and non-potable water that we did receive water that was provided by the island company. We're doing both, and I have heard many nice things about by both our crews and by people in the community who appreciate that.
Yeah. I went out there today to check it out, and it was amazing. I would have thought there would have been more people coming out to get free water, because it is very simple. You just sign your name, and then you turn on the spigot, and you fill up your whatevers. So, but it was very easy, very simple, and it's wonderful. So if you think you need a few extra gallons of non-potable water, it's right there for you. Kathy's happy to help. Shop at Home night went very well. Jim Luke Johan, your staff did a great job. The Christmas tree was beautiful. The lights went on, and I think it was very well attended. So thank you, and all the businesses that participated in Shop at Home. And I just want to make with my other hat, Catalina Kid Ventures, we will be sponsoring Breakfast with Santa on Saturday, the 17th of December from 9 to 11. It's $5. You get pancakes and orange juice or milk for the kids, photos with Santa, a little gift, and then the adults can eat off the regular menu if they would like. So I hope to see kids and grandkids and grandparents out there on the 17th. And that's all I have.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I do have two things to say. The first one is I forgot to introduce Elizabeth Hull. She comes usually when we have a housing authority agenda item, when there's something for that she's helped us with. And also, so Elizabeth Hull, so the public knows who's standing in for Scott Campbell tonight. And the other thing is Cindy Cassidy, when she said that we were having our second meeting in December, that is a true statement, but we will not be, as of this moment, having that first meeting in January, just so the public knows.
Oh,
and so you can plan.
Sweet.
I think that would be January 2nd anyway.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Is Dan, are you going to announce anything about Joe Machado Field?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty, presentations. Today we have Ray McEwen from Exceptional Music will show us a short video of the summer concert series that he's been doing now for how many years?
7.
Wow.
This will be our, hopefully our upcoming 8th season.
Fantastic.
I'm appreciative of the opportunity. Our city manager suggested this would be wise to acquaint everyone because we can't assume that it's fully familiar. This started 7 years ago. I would like to say it was advertent, but it was more inadvertent. Sitting with Wayne Griffin, he said, we have the Flying Fish Festival in 2 weeks. I said, that's great. He said, I understand you're in the music business. I am. Can I get a band in 2 weeks at the Flying Fish Festival? And it occurred to me, so in 2 weeks, you want a high-quality band on an island? He said yes. I asked, what is your budget? I don't have any. And for whatever reason, I said yes. And I did not anticipate that would become a story that would end up building a house here, joining the community, and falling in love with Avalon, as so many of us do. This concert series is now a property of the Chamber of Commerce. The Exceptional Music Company carries it out, takes the financial risk, manages the musicians, the productions, and the budgets. But in fact, it's a property of the Chamber. So you hear us announce from the stage, brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce. It would not be possible without its sponsors. It's presented by Catalina Island Vacation Rental and Real Estate. They write a check. They provide lodging. Critical to have a concert series function. Hamilton Pacific donates cash. And over 20 businesses that are local donate stuff that we would otherwise have to buy. Our equipment is barged over for free. We get coupons for some of our travel. We are fed at the Blue Water Grill after a sound check. So we just couldn't afford to do this series if we didn't have that kind of sponsorship. Here's some posters for the last couple of years, our 6th and 7th season. I'd like to note that we try to vary it each year. So only 3 acts carried over from 2015 to 2016. 6 were either new or they appeared before 2015. Every year we tried to raise the bar in production values and quality of talent. In the first years, you would have seen a couple of lights, a nice sound system. Now you see truss towers, moving lights, LED light shows, and I think very high quality talent. You may remember this scene from Butch Dassey and the Sunglass Kid. Could you do that? Right. So, Councilman Sampson was asking me the other day, who are these guys that you get to come to the stage? We've had amazing talent. That we can get them, I pinch myself. Johnny Kosh is the guitar player. Kenny Loggins is the guitar player. Cher's music director. The music director for the Coasters, the Platters, and Tina Turner, and others. We get remarkable talent. These are not bar band musicians. These are the real deal. Our premise, because we have a purpose, is not just to make music. Our premise is based on this. The cheapest, most effective marketing one can do for a destination, and we are one, is to create a happy customer who says good things about you, recommends you, and comes back. So that's the purpose of the series. Number 1, we create an amazing visitor experience. We think we do that for the residents as well. We create repeat visitors. We've had attendees come to 30 or more concerts. If you're on the Dana Point boat on a Friday or a Saturday on a concert weekend and ask who's going to the concert, you see a forest of hands. We've extended the visitor season. We used to be made Memorial Day to Labor Day, and now we started in March this last year. It's a little risky weather-wise, but we lucked out. And we do create unique first visits. Somebody who comes to the island just to see our concert. If they have a fantastic experience, go back to number one, and we go through the cycle. This chamber study, commissioned by the chamber, suggests that we still have opportunity to improve. Catalina is still having to get 2 new visitors for every 3 that come. So we're not as efficient yet as a community as I know we'd like to be, but we'd like to move that statistic, and we think we have moved that statistic with our concert series. This year, for the first time, we had partners. We partnered with the Conservancy. We partnered with Southern California Outriggers Association. We partnered with the Art Festival. And partnering meant that we just didn't do music on those occasions. We were their sound system. We were their staging. We were their timeline manager. We made their event better, and they, in fact, made the concerts better. This is the first one we did. It was in the proximity of St. Paddy's Day. We did it with the Conservancy Marathon, so we had some very thirsty runners who showed up. And there we go. And then we had a little bit of... That was a record beer garden, by the way. We endeavored to extend Springfest, which has historically been a late week activity, and there's no reason for it not to be a multi-day activity, so we took a weather risk and did this in April. You'll see this band here, Roadhouse Rock. Clay and Sergio have been here every year except one. They're probably our most requested and most popular band. Sergio seems to have his own following. Here. In the vicinity of Cinco de Mayo, we also realized we had not served a big chunk of our community here, and so we wanted to do that more directly. So we partnered with a whole bunch of folks in town, asked what kind of music they'd like. We recruited the ballet folk. I can't say it; my Spanish is terrible. But folk Spanish dancing. Thank you very much. They performed in the afternoon. We did a concert built around Mariela Contreras at night. Her band was called Cantoro. And people had fun. The island never had a Pride weekend, and we couldn't figure out why not. So we did one. We partnered with, in this case, mostly women, but there's many possibilities for the future. Women on a Roll in the Mermaid Lounge. We brought an all-female band called Cougars Rock. They brought several hundred gals out, and the organizers are coming back, and they think they're going to bring 500 to 600 this next time. It worked, and here's one of the reasons why. Whoops, have to go back and play this. That was a total crowd of about 800 people, and I assure you that 2/3 of them were new, because that's what the statistics said, and I don't know why we just lost the slide presentation. All right, we're back. But it worked. For the 3rd year, we've gathered up all of our local musician buddies. Vern has been my partner. He helps me. He doesn't help me. He just chooses the bands, and we stage them. And there were 6 bands this year. He brought Michael Pinera of Iron Butterfly and Blues Image. This was the closing act. You'll see somebody that you recognize on this one. That's Ride, Captain Ride, and that is a very famous song. Can you guess which concert this is? Anybody? By looking at the slide. That's over 1,000 people downtown.
ABBA.
Close. Turns out to be this one, Mick Adams and the Stones. They recently competed on the Best Tribute Band on TV, a TV show hosted by, or paid for by Mark Cuban. They won. Mark Cuban had him for his personal party. That's the final bow. One of those butts is mine, because I got to go up on stage and play Satisfaction with them. And there's nothing like looking at a crowd like that when you're on stage. Now, I want you to just look at this thing here. And what memory do you think these people are going to take with them about Catalina? And are they happy customers? I don't know how you can't buy this stuff. You just have to create it. The next one was ABBA. That's probably our second best attended concert. You can look from the stage, that view there, and see the crowd. Up on top on the right-hand side, you see Roger, the drummer. Ola Brunkert was the drummer for ABBA, and Roger was his drum tech. And when Ola had too many consumables to perform adequately, Roger stepped in and was the drummer. It's 6 of the major ABBA concerts, including the Budokan in Japan. This is saying goodbye to the band. That's the only act I'm a full-time cast member of, and I set my guitar down just long enough to take this picture. Oops, no, not yet. Come on. I would say another 800 or so people, 2/3 of which were new, and many of those will come back because they experienced that. This is Taimani. She's been on that about 3 times before. She plays ukulele, and that doesn't sound like it would be much, but she was discovered by Don Ho when she was 13, and that was her training. I was so mesmerized this last year, I forgot to film anything. So this is from her San Diego Ukulele Festival performance. Oops, I'll get this time not right yet. That little video's had about 500,000 views. We finished the season with the Catalina Art Festival. This was logistically challenging because all the tents were right in front of the stage, so you didn't even know there was music. But we had Stelita and Fuzzy was a remarkable blues player. And for those who were there, it was a lot of fun. I know you can't read this, but the slides are available. We present the finances to the Chamber every year. Jim at the Chamber gets a detailed financial statement along with every single check written, every single credit card charge. And even though the risk is ours personally, we do it on behalf of the Chamber, and we feel like we're stewards of the sponsorship money that we've gotten. But here's a summary. We had at those 9 concerts $198,000 worth of gross income. But of that number, $119,000 was sponsorships in kind. Stuff we otherwise would have had to buy. We did get $63,000 in cash, some $45,000 plus a bit more came from the Chamber. $9,000 came from our remarkable friends at Catalina Island Vacation Rental and Real Estate. They write a check for that and provide lodging every weekend. $16 and some odd thousand came from the concerts themselves. I'll go over those numbers in a bit. The principal pain in this one is $48,000 worth of AV and $20,000 worth of labor became a donation because there wasn't enough cash to pay for it. We didn't know we were that philanthropic, but my colleagues Dennis and Kevin and I found ourselves in a position to be philanthropic because we had to be. Each concert has a beer garden. We have a raffle, the items of which are donated by local businesses, and we have remarkable participation. They come into the beer garden, they get compensated with a free beer, and their donation gets raffled off, and the proceeds of the raffle go to support the concert series. We carry around a donation bucket. Depending on who's carrying it, it's anywhere from $0 to $570. When my wife Kimberly carries it around, it's a lot of money. The beer garden was a low of $413, and those thirsty marathoners on St. Patty's Day were $3,000 worth of beer. We didn't bring enough beer for the Stones concert at $1,800. We ran out. So it was a happy crowd, and we sell a few T-shirts along the way. We also rendered during the course of the year, and this is just background color, we did the ticketed events at Live at Descanso. We staged Smash Mouth, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Bob Marley's band, The Wailers. Here's a picture of that concert. Well over 1,000 people in attendance. And just because it'll make us feel good, we should listen to it. If that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what would. We also did this for the second time, the Catalina wine mixer from the movie Step Brothers. We land a helicopter on the lawn, recreate scenes from the movie. That was a 3-day event this year, and we had this act called the Congos, or just actually, no, just Congos. They're a high-quality touring act, and I want to kind of illustrate some of the light shows we do. And we do these downtown, too. Oops. And I will show it to you as soon as I... Here we go. So that's all happening on our island. Now, you experienced Up for Whatever, which gave you kind of some mind expansion. We can do all of that. And I would suggest you ain't seen nothing yet. This is from a show we staged. See if you can recognize the artist. Any guesses who that is? That's Train. Up here in the upper right-hand corner is Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which we staged in Napa. This is an LED special effects wall. We own one. We've never brought it to the island because it's a $500,000 item, and it breaks easily. But I'm not using it anyplace else, so I'd sure like to bring it here. It takes 500 amps, so there's a few things we have to do with generators. But just imagine this little puppy at one of our concerts. Our plan for 2017 is straightforward. Having been on the Chamber board for 3 years, my fiduciary hat told me the Chamber spends as much money as it can afford for the concert series. And as I said earlier, it's $45,000 plus up for the raffles, so call that $48,000. We're setting out to meet with each of our sponsors and asking them if they're willing to consider renewing their sponsorship. Not something you can take for granted because their businesses may have changed. We're asking for checks. We're asking for donations in kind. And it wouldn't take very many of them to change their mind for us not to be able to proceed. But with those items, and after 7 years and several $100,000, this is more expensive than a yacht. And I'm short. So when I shared that with a couple of you, he said, well, bring it to the city council and just discuss it. So that's really what I'm here to do, is just to let you know that it's difficult to do this on our dime to the extent that we have done it. What we have done, however, is we've secured all the dates. The Chamber has guaranteed them. We're building sponsorship decks, and we're meeting with people to see if we can make up the shortfall, which in our case is about $50,000 to stop losing money. It's never been my quest to make money. I have the privilege of being able to live on an island in a nice house and have you all as friends, and that suffices. But if I could stop losing money, that'd be terrific. And if I could stop losing money, we can continue the concert series, as we dearly wish to do. We have the ability to do it, the desire to do it, and our goal remains to make it better and better every year. That's our presentation.
Thank you very much. Is there questions? Anyone?
Yeah, great.
Comments?
Great series.
They are. It is a wonderful series.
Well, of course, I mean, if we want to discuss it, I mean, we should probably ask some questions, figure out. So what you're here for tonight, Ray, is to say that you want to continue doing these concerts. I really appreciate them. I mean, it's a lot of fun. People have a gas down there. They're free. They're free to the people. That is.
Yes, they are.
So you basically spend your own money to put these concerts on?
I do, but sponsors do too. It's just that there's not quite enough of that gasoline in the tank to get all the way to where we need to go. So I've been spending the difference.
So if the alternative, if you don't get the funding, these concerts are going to go away.
Well, it sounds a little much like threatening to take my football home, and I don't want to be that guy. I want to do this. It's just that as a retired fellow who doesn't create new income, I have to live off what I already made 10 years ago, and it's a little too much for me to bear all by myself. Well, it's not by myself. Actually, I have some great partners here in the room, but I could use a bit more help. So yes, I need that amount of money to continue comfortably.
I think it's a fantastic production that you do, and your crew. I know you guys have never had any problems down in Front Street.
Is Doug still here? Our sheriff was here. In 100 concerts on this island, we've had 0 fights.
Yeah,
0. That's unheard of. Now, part of that's music selection. We pick mature, clean language, happy music. and people smile. They sometimes drink a little too much, and we kind of nudge them out of the beer garden and suggest a good night's sleep would be in their best interest. But we have never had a fight or an issue or even a severe argument. Doug did joke. The only incident we really ever had was a retired deputy decided he would leave the beer garden. I'm sorry. I violated my trust here.
Doug, have they ever had any problems down there?
No, sure we have not. It's been a fun event for us. I go down there now to watch and enjoy it. First couple of years, I just kind of walked around anticipating might be a problem. Nothing even close. There was one little incident that I asked Ray not to share, but he didn't see me in the back watching, so he shared it. But no, it's been a problem-free event for us.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
I'd like to tell you there's an absolute moral certainty that we'll never have a problem, but it's the concert business. So I suppose we might have one in the future. But we've been just really fortunate. But again, it's how we construct a beer garden, how we safe serve. Dennis and Kevin and the team are very sensitive to that. The music selection and the environment we create. We have kids on the streets dancing. That's what's so wonderful about this. You have moms bring down their 8-year-old girls dancing away and getting autographs from the band. It's very touching. And bringing kids up on stage, as we do for ABBA when we do I Have a Dream.
And I've been to a number of them, but how many hours is the concert?
They're very intense. They tend to be a 2-hour nonstop concert. So anybody in this room who plays music to play for 2 hours with no breaks knows the daunting nature of that. But you can't take a break in a concert like that. Springsteen doesn't take a break, nor should we.
People would walk.
Right.
Yeah.
So it starts at 8. Now, a couple are designed to do otherwise. Like the marathon was an afternoon thing as well. Taimani with the Outriggers Association was late afternoon, early evening. But by and large, they're 8 to 10, and we honor that 10 o'clock curfew religiously, and then we tear down. And so in that 12 to 14-hour days it takes to set up, move, lodge, by 2 o'clock in the morning, it's like nothing was there. It's clean, and the next day it's just downtown. All those people, when the concert's over, pour into J.R. Locker, El Galleon, Lobster Trap. They're in search of more music and more people and more fun. There's a vibe that gets created, and they go start spending their money. They don't want to go home. We've made a lot of friends in Avalon.
Yes, you have.
What are you asking for tonight? That's kind of just.
Well, I feel almost embarrassed to ask, but I'm going to. I'm $50,000 short from not losing money. And so if I had originally panicked, can I find that someplace else? And some of you suggested, well, why not come to the city and at least introduce the question? So that's the question. I'd be delighted to have it answered, but that's my need.
And you wouldn't get that this evening.
I understand that. I have been told.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So that's something that we can discuss as we get into budgets and things like that. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very thorough.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity to discuss it.
We'll see you in March.
It's a deal. I hope.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this forward.
Okay. I don't believe there's any other presentations. We'll have oral communications. This is an opportunity for people in the community to speak on items that are not on the agenda. You will be limited to 3 minutes, and no action will be taken.
Good evening, Pam Hours, 217 Calle del Sol. Just a few items. At the last meeting, I think like Donald Trump, I was taken literally rather than seriously or something like that. I had talked about the water allocations and not to, throw water on everybody, but we're into December. The rain's not really falling yet, and I think we need to be planning for the possibility that we are going to go into stage 4. I don't want to be there. Nobody else wants to be there, but I think it would be not a good idea to not address what we're going to do when that comes. And I think one of the basic questions that I was trying to raise is, from a policy standpoint, is the basis on which the water allocation rationing plan was done, does it make any sense? And I would say no. I would say that for an adult human, there is probably a certain amount of water that makes sense to be allocated so that you can bathe, so you can drink water, so that you can do your laundry. feed your pets, and somewhat less water for a kid. And I get the sense, but I don't know that we know the data, that there are wide-ranging differences among Avalon residents as to how much water you have based on your attitudes about water use back in 2012. And I happen to know that if you don't make a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money to pay for water. But if you do have a lot of money, then you are not so worried about the water that you use, which means that we have essentially water inequality based on things that really I don't think we can afford to impose upon people going into a stage 4 allocation. So I think with the opening of conversation with the Public Utilities Commission, that it's something that we should raise with Edison, because the response that I got back from Jeff kind of told me what I already know, that there's a process by which I can plead for more water, but that's not really what I was talking about. What I was talking about was the entire structure by which we determine how much water people are going to have. And on that topic, I'm glad to know that the Island Company is still graciously offering the non-potable, because there was a rumor circulating that it was not in effect anymore. But one question that's came up among community members is, what do you use? I mean, what are you putting that water into so it's not sloshing as you drive back, and it's not so heavy that you can't lift it?
I mean, I used my gallons, my gallon ones, because I got plenty of gallons of, from the water from Vaughn. So I use those.
Okay. Some people plastic, like a milk jug or water jug.
Some people use 5-gallon ones and don't fill them up quite as heavy because water's heavy.
Right.
Those kind of things. And you can get those that have lids on them. You can get the old 5-gallon, like the beverage company would have.
I was thinking bait buckets, but I don't have any anymore.
Does
somebody sell bait buckets?
Do you sell those bait buckets?
Because that lid goes on it tight. Do you guys have? Oh, okay, great.
But yeah, I mean, there's tons of different types of things that you can use. I mean, like Annie was saying, buckets and just not filling them up all the way.
Gas cans, clean gas can.
A clean gas can.
You can go buy the.
All right, that's some good ideas. I just wanted to get that out
there.
there.
The Humane Society, the Animal Hospital, they have these like 2 or 3 gallon containers that the litter goes in when they're empty. It's just a really good plastic jug. Otherwise, they get thrown in the trash. Anything else is like too heavy.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah.
Is once you fill it up with water, then you're like, oh, I should have thought this through. Yeah.
And they will deliver a tote. I mean, if you have the land on which to put a tote, they can do that as well. It's very reasonable.
Okay, that's good to know. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is to see if we could get some updated information for the public on our finances. The revenue report hasn't been updated since May of 2016. And by my rough calculation, the city council has already spent about $375,000 more than what you allocated in the budget. And since we reduced our reserves by $2.5 million to get a balanced budget this year, it seems like we should be keeping track of those things. And I shouldn't say it wasn't your fault. Like we had $100,000 in unexpected lease payments so little things like that, but it does add up. And along the same lines, on the last month's warrant, there was, because of course I tend to look at the attorney's fees. It's my own picadillo. So every other month, it's reported as contract services, and then it will say the month for which it is. And on October 18th, there was a Best and Krieger payment that said contract services for July of 2016. And then for some reason, the next one last month, it was for $10,000, which caught my eye because it's been about $35,000, $38,000 every month. This was for $10,000, but it said administrative and contract services, admin, and planning, and it didn't have any time period. So I'm just hoping that Bob is listening and that we can go back to making sure that the public understands what it is that we're paying for, and the city council as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Good evening. My name is Medgar Boston. I came over here today. I met with the mayor from a company called All Industries. Prior to my work with All Industries, I worked for FEMA, and I worked in many disaster areas. And from hurricanes to tornadoes, I saw the devastation that these disasters, how they affect the population. And what my company does, we produce pure potable water by air compression. And 4 years ago, when I started with the company, I reached out to Don Kanabi, and he's been a friend, a supporter of mine personally in our companies for the past 3 years. And prior to today, I didn't realize, well, actually prior to October 2nd, when I read an article in the Orange County Register, I didn't realize how bad the drought was here and how bad it was affecting the population. It reminded me a lot of what I saw in 2008 when I was in Baytown, Texas, after Hurricane Gustav. And the pure devastation it seems that this island is going through. And so with that in mind and that background that I had, I talked to my company. And prior to reading this article and seeing this report on the CBS Evening News of how bad the devastation was here, my job was, as director of business development, was to go out and seek partners for our company. And I've talked to people in South Africa. I've talked to people in Haiti. I've talked to people in West Africa. I've talked to First Nation tribes in Canada. All are desperate for water. And I didn't realize how bad the water situation is. I keep going back to that, but that's the truth until I read this article. So I convinced my company to allow me to offer the island of Catalina 100 million gallons of water for free for 20 years. All you have to do is say yes. And so my company is prepared to do a deal with Southern California Edison because I know that that they have water rights here. So we're prepared to do a deal with Southern California Edison. We won't charge them for the water to give to you. And it's pure potable water. And basically it runs large scale air compressors, just like an air conditioning unit. And the byproduct is water. And it uses the wind energy. And so I fully want to engage the city. I fully want you to vet the technology. I fully want you to be involved and work with me to help you solve this water crisis. And the mayor has all my contact information, and I can come back to the island at any time. And you're more than welcome to come to our manufacturing facility, which is in Irvine, real close to the airport there in Newport. So that's all I have to say. And I'm going to get on my boat at 7:30, so I got to go.
Well, it's 6:53. Can I ask a question?
Please.
So how would you move the production? Could you move the production here to the island?
So, in essence, what we produce is a large-scale air conditioning unit. Fits on about an acre of land. And that air conditioning unit, and I've shown the mayor back in the conference room earlier today basically how it works. And
what powers it? Electricity, gas?
No, the wind.
Oh, the wind?
The wind.
Wow.
Yeah, at 3 miles an hour, at 2 miles an hour, we turn our compressors and it produces enough compressed air. The largest unit would produce about 100 million gallons of water a year.
I like this.
Oh, no.
It's called AWE, AWE, the Atmospheric Wind Extractor.
What's the name of your company?
All Industries LLC.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to go on the website, allindustриesllc.com.
Would they be able to see what you showed me?
No, they'll see another presentation, but I'm more, like I said, can come back here anytime and give a presentation to the board or any interested, business owner, or doesn't matter.
And there was a discussion about a smaller unit that produces about 34 million gallons, that maybe they could bring that over, start with that, and while they're constructing the big one.
Right.
And
it just sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm here personally, because I talked to Mr. Jenkins via email some time ago, and I took it upon myself to come here personally because people say a lot of things that are too good to be true, and that's why I'm here, to for you to meet me and see me personally, and I'm inviting you to hop on the boat and come over to Orange County
to Irvine. Check out your facility?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who do you distribute to over there?
Well, see, our devices...
or do you just...
Our devices are owned and operated by us. So we do not sell these devices. They're not for sale.
Oh, I see.
Okay, and so the reason that I can make this offer to you today is because we've built prototypes in the lab and at our facility over the past 4 or 5 years, and we're ready for production now. And so we had been looking for partners to produce the electricity. Like I said, most recently I talked to a First Nation tribe up in Canada who was really interested, and various other folks. So, this is where we are.
Wow. And one of the comments that he was making, that it's kind of like if you can get something like this approved in California, which is very stringent with all their rules, then taking it to somewhere else, man.
So for how I sold, this is the initiative brought by me, not by my company. I was able to convince my company to move in this direction. As an example, we have an office in the Philippines, and the Philippines has about 4,000 islands that are inhabited that don't have water. And so my selling point to my bosses simply was, if we can prove the technology here locally with the California PUC, the Conservancy, the environmentalist groups, and get the technology vetted here, we can get it vetted anywhere in the world, because the rules and regulations are a lot more stringent here than practically anywhere. And so that was how I was able to justify us, exploiting this technology here.
I just like to understand the logistics of how we would get produce the water and then have it piped into our system.
Okay, so
because that could be done out towards the Edison plant.
So here the water is purely potable. It's rainwater, essentially, just like the water you get from the condensation from your air conditioning unit. It can be, I would believe, once it's tested and checked for purity, it could actually be dumped into your reservoir. And the device sits on about an acre of land, maximum acre of land. And it produces 100 million gallons of water a year.
What does that break down to? I mean,
320 acre feet.
300. Okay, 320
It's a lot.
acre feet.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water.
Per year.
Yeah.
And what do we use? About 100 acre feet? 90?
Last year they sold 330.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Island wide.
So we could turn down the
island wide, huh?
So I mentioned it to the city manager. They also can produce electricity out of that they would have a powers agreement with Southern California Edison. But if we wanted that as one of the components. But I think it would be nice if we could try to facilitate a meeting with Edison, the Conservancy, and the city, and have
Mr.
Medgar
Boston?
come back. And,
Yes, sir.
And
I'll come back anytime.
he's just over on the other side.
I live in Los Angeles. I'm from LA. Our company's California based.
Yeah, that sounds great. If we could follow up on this, I definitely, we need to, we need to reach out. We need to find a remedy to this. We can't keep waiting around for Edison to come up with an answer, or the PUC. They don't necessarily care what we're going through right now. So
it's
just
free.
So you understand,
how did you hear about us, by the way?
That's what I was just about to explain to you. Like I said, I've been Don Kanabe's been kind of a friend of my family's for some time, and he supported the company once I got involved, because he introduced me to some folks at the Public Works Department about 3 years ago, when this technology was kind of just in the development stage. And so when I saw this article in the newspaper, I emailed him, and then I saw him the next day, and I asked him if he could turn me on to someone in Catalina. And so he turned me on to the Mr. Jenkins here. That was right before the holiday.
Let me ask you, how do you capture the wind? Is it you have like sails, high efficiency turbines?
It's a vertical access. It's vertical. A wind turbine turns like with blades. This turns kind of in a vertical manner, like wind. How would I describe it? The best way to describe it is if you look at flutter vanes, like shades, vertical shades that you would up and down. Mm-hmm. Well, they turn, and they actually turn an air compressor. So the wind just drives the air compressor. The air is compressed at massive volumes. That's our patented technology. Mm-hmm. And so that air compression is what creates the potable water.
I'd love for you to see that video. It really, you can really get a.
Yeah, I'm going to go. So it's AWE Industries
LLC.com. And what I'll do is I'll forward that video to the mayor and let her distribute it to all of you. I'll forward it to you.
Yeah, we've got to follow up on this. I mean, I'd like to maybe even visit your facility and see exactly. I got to see what the logistics are, and then we can follow up and see. Edison's not going to like this, but it's just too bad.
For us, we're not. Our goal is not to replace Edison. Our goal is to work with Edison, so we can be a supplier of water to Edison. However,
we need an answer to a problem we have right now, which is a shortage of water, and we're not getting answers from the people who are responsible to provide that water for us, as you can actually see in some of the dialogue that has been happening today, and people are getting scared. So, and we're getting really concerned about it.
Right.
And it's affecting our business, it's affecting our economy, it's affecting our health and our daily lives, and we got to fix this problem.
So I'm here to help in any way I can. The mayor has my information. You can call me anytime.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Sure. I'm going to get on that boat now.
Thanks, Mr. Boston.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay, smooth sailing.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I think you've all got a personal invitation of mine. I want to announce to the community as well, as we've got flyers going out, but our grand opening for Joe Machado Field will be this Friday, December 9th. We were planning a punt pass kick competition for the kids starting at 5 o'clock from 5 to 6:30. We invite the community up for that, followed by the actual official opening of the field at 7 o'clock. I've asked Mayor Marshall to assist us with that, and each of the council members to have a role on that. I think I've got commitments for the most part from everybody. That will be followed by 7:15, the football team. We're going to have announced the 2016 league champions, have them come up, have a mini senior night for them, take about 15-20 minutes to recognize them, followed by a flag football alumni scrimmage with the present team and the alumni team. So love the community to come up for that. On Saturday the 10th, we'll follow that after 2 soccer games. The high school has 2 soccer games. From 3 to 4:30, we'll do a soccer competition for the kids. It'll be a shoot, dribble, pass competition, and we don't want to leave our baseball players out. From 5 to 6:30, we'll do a pitch, hit, and run competition for the kids. So they're invited up for that. And then from 6:30 to 8 on Saturday that evening, we'll have the facility open just for open play for families to come on and enjoy it. A couple other just real quick updates. The Mole Park is underway. As of tonight, I think it'll be hopefully officially Kanabe Park, and we are probably 2.5 weeks away from having that completed. As you can see across the street at People's Park, Kids Park, let's get a name for that tonight as well. There will be equipment is already set. There'll be an unveiling that in the next couple of weeks as well. So we looking for information coming out in regards to ribbon cuttings for both of those. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Dan, thank you.
Comments? Thanks, Dan. Any other? Okay. Consent calendar.
Mayor and Council, the consent calendar, item 1 is approve the actions from the November 15th, 2016 City Council meeting. Item 2 is adopt ordinance and changes to Title 9 of the Avalon Municipal Code to authorize administrative approval of minor renovation projects. This is actually a second action or final action, if you will, on the ordinance. Item number 3 is a request to approve the park facility monument signs, and I understand that some members may wish to discuss that matter. Item number 4 is a request for authorization to solicit a request for qualifications to prepare development impact fees. And the action is to authorize the city manager to solicit proposals from qualified professional firms to prepare development impact fee study. We've listed in the report some examples. They are not inclusive on that, but they're examples of what impact fees might be.
I'd like to pull item number 3 for discussion.
Okay, and what's your pleasure on 1, 2, and 4?
I'd like 2 and 4, actually.
To pull?
To pull.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve item 1.
I'll second that. Okay, comments? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Item number 2. The ordinance?
On the ordinance, on the, for the, so I guess this is what I'm getting. This is replacing this mini permit we used to have within the city. Is this just like updating everything, correct?
Yes, what it is it's memorializing in an ordinance what has been the practice by the Planning Commission to delegate to staff authority for minor approvals of certain planning approvals, not of a major nature. And the city attorney's office suggested that it would be appropriate to amend the code to specifically authorize the practice that has been used for many years. And this is a second reading, actually, or if you will, for adoption.
And just reading some of those things in there, and I was involved in that back when I was on the fire department with the planning department. There was really nothing in there. It doesn't really say anything in there about, and I would like to say something in regards to the fire suppression systems. When you do your projects on these mini permits and small permits, minor things we have, there's really no plan set. They really don't have to have a plan when they do this. I know that's with the old mini permits. There was no plan. It was a small drawing. The contractor goes and does the work. He could literally go and remodel a whole house on a mini permit. I would like to see something in there somewhere, to say in there somewhere, hey, this is going to be cumulatively. It's going to add on each time you do any construction to your building or property. So you get to the 25% for commercial buildings that triggers the fire suppression systems, or you go to the residentials, which is 50%, unless it's a duplex and it's 25. It doesn't say anything like that in there. And I don't know if we could do that.
You could certainly include in the minor amendment the requirement that for a fire suppression system that there be a specific plan drawn. If you were to make that amendment, the question would be: is it a major amendment to the ordinance that would require to go back to first reading, right, or would the council consider it, or the city attorney, a minor amendment that is incidental to the approval tonight? So I'll let.
But isn't and I might have convoluted this in my own head with what you were saying, but part of what could be the issue is you could come in today and remodel a small room, and then next week come in and do another and another and another. So you're asking that it be cumulative. Correct. Also, correct, which has been an issue in the past.
Correct, it's been a big issue, and because there's never been a set plan that comes with the remodel. So if you're going to go in and do 25% of this, and then you're in a residential 50%, and then you're going to do 10% here. Now you're at 30. Mm-hmm. So eventually you're going to get to the fire suppression thing, and it doesn't say anything like that in there. And I don't know if we could do that or not.
You certainly can. What I would recommend is that we draft some language to add to this and bring it back for a first reading, because we haven't noticed to the public that would be one of the issues we're addressing, and people may want to comment on that. Mm-hmm. So you have two choices. You can approve this, adopt the second reading, so what we have here becomes effective, and then we can go back and make another change and bring you back another first and second reading. Or you can direct us to return with a revised ordinance, and we can do the first reading over.
I could live with that.
Either way.
I could read approve that and then come back.
That would be the fastest way to get this on.
The fastest way is to approve what we have today. Correct. And then ask you to bring back a new one.
Yep.
Okay.
Like an attachment?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. That way you get all of this in place for now, and then we can bring back the additional fire suppression issue.
Could we, just so we don't lose traction on this, could we request that comes sooner rather than later?
We will bring it to you as soon as the language, and maybe even the count. I know of his expertise in this regard, but it would be something we just need to get the language
right
for the amendment. Right. It would be an amendment by ordinance first reading, and we'll do that as rapidly as possible.
Okay.
I would guess your first meeting in January.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I just think it's kind of an important thing as build up. Absolutely. Keeps everybody from
absolutely.
So that was just my question for that.
Okay.
So
That's a good question.
Okay, and council, what's your pleasure on item 2?
Move staff on item 2.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second that.
Further discussion? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Okay, now item number 3, you pulled that one too, Rich?
No.
Oh, okay.
Cindy did.
Oh, Cindy. Oh, yes.
The item number 3 is in regards to approving the design and language for 5 park facility monument signs and authorizes staff to purchase and install the signs in the intended locations. And so looking at the actual signs, and I know these were drafts and proposals and all that, love the idea, love the concept. There has been some discussion, since all of these parks are city parks. One would be, do we need for the park signs to say Avalon Kids Park, or could it just be Kids Park and Avalon City Park? Annie might want to help chime in here too, because I know that there's been some discussion. No. Veterans Park to me looks no big deal. Mm-hmm. Kanabe Park, I think the bigger concern with that one is when we revitalize the transportation hub, which is the mole. One of the things that the council talked about was going away from the use of the term mole, because our visitor doesn't understand what that means. Right. So having this be just Kanabe Park rather than at the mole. So just some thoughts that I was hoping maybe we could talk a little bit about.
Okay.
And I had mentioned it to Dan. So also it would be, and we also have the city seal. So it'd be Kids Park and Fit Trail instead of Avalon and Avalon Canyon, because the signs are located right where you're standing. So there's no reason for the redundancy. And again, City Park instead of Avalon City Park.
Okay. So Tremont Hall, we're fine with the Tremont Hall?
Perfect.
Okay. Kanabe Park will be centered Kanabe Park, and we're going to drop at the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Avalon Kids Park will be Kids Park and Fit Trail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Avalon City Park would just be City Park.
Yeah. So let me ask a question. So if I have a grandchild someday and it wakes up at 5 a.m. and we go for a walk, and the kid goes, "I want to go to the park," but it's 6:30 or 7. You got grandkids. It's okay if I hop on there at 6:30. I mean, no, there's not going to be a park police, right? A kids police to.
I think what we're looking for groups and gatherings, at the Fit Trail, that there's not a fitness class going on, that we don't have an organized basketball practice at Kanabe Park on the basketball court, those types of things.
Okay, perfect.
Is there addresses going on any of these?
No, because they're going to be right where they are.
I understand that.
Yeah,
but I mean,
somebody
says, "Hey, I'm going over here. What's the address?" Is there an address for any of these places?
There are addresses. It was tough to find addresses for the parks. We were able to put those down. We were able to find those, but if we wanted those located on there, then that certainly can be done as well.
I think that's a good point, because in case you need emergency response.
If somebody from the mainland falls and they say, "We're at this place," and they don't know the address of it, I'm 911, where you at? I'm sure the fire department and everybody know, but
you're so logical.
I don't know.
That is
just a thought.
That's a good idea. Could we put something just on the back of the sign?
I mean, just a thought.
A little something with a plaque that had the address on or something, instead of marring up these beautiful signs.
Well, I think something tastefully done in a smaller font can be put on there as well. Yeah. Okay.
Possibly, might help out with an emergency.
And I understood that there was maybe some concern about the sign size. These are a little larger than the ordinance. I think of an 8 square foot monument sign. I've had them resize, so taking them from the 32 by 48, we're looking at a 27.65, or call it 28 inches by 41 inches. So we'll bring them down a little bit in size, and they will meet the sign ordinance as well.
Perfect.
It says 10 p.m. Since curfew's at 11 in the summertime, I think we should have the curfew, these hours expanded. I don't know.
Even though curfew is late, though, I mean, having music and noise in a residential area till 11 o'clock at night is...
What residential area?
Kanawha Park.
Well, Kanawha Park for one, and
Kanawha Park
Kids
is
Park
not
and the
never-
Fit Trail, there's
not never-
houses close by,
A
too.
residential area. That's
Right across the street.
it's a community area. It's a recreational area. It's a transportation hub area.
We have a lot of mixed uses in this community, and one of
Yeah.
them is
So we gonna for one or two homes we're gonna tell everybody else and all the kids in town that they can't go play at that park because of two homes or however many are there. Is that what we're doing?
it's been 10 o'clock forever.
What? Oh.
No, I think we were talking about like events and things. That was what the hours were set on the signs for. So that, you know, like Annie was saying, if my grandkids get up at 6:30 and want to go to the park, yeah, they can go to the park. But it's for things like events or music or
Okay,
that's
that's
what
fine.
that's what the hours meant.
Yeah, because kids go to the basketball courts. They stay down there late sometimes. When the curfew's 11, they stay down there till 10 or 11 o'clock, and so that's fine. Yeah, I guess I just don't want them to be kicked out of the place because it says 10 o'clock. That is, if a couple kids are gathering around there.
Right.
We need to keep things available, and so kids can be out in the open. They can be seen. They can be safe, and they can have confidence that they're okay where they're at in a city park. We got to be kid friendly in this town. There's too many kids.
And I think to show good faith, we need to keep the sign within the 8 square feet. So thank you.
Okay.
Need to follow our own rules.
So with those changes and all, I would make a motion to approve the design and language for the 5 park facility monument sign and authorize staff to purchase and install the signs.
Second.
Great.
Comment?
Good job.
Call for the vote. Yep.
Okay, Dan.
Great. Thank
All
you.
ayes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we approved 4 already,
This one's
correct?
you.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Yeah. Okay, again,
No, we didn't do 4.
on number 4, I was reading through some of the things that we had laid out for some of the things that we might be charging people for.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I didn't see on that was, and I don't know how we go about it. I guess that would be the people that are doing the thing for us. The wear and tear on our roads from these big trucks driving on our streets, like 3rd Street, they have the truck route. There's obviously some places in this town that's making a big difference. And I'll give you an example. The example is on Beacon Street and Catalina. It's all messed up there, and that's a truck route. When we do this survey or whatever we do, is there any way to do a cost with that, with transportation of heavy equipment across our roads when we do this? I don't know.
Yes, I think you could certainly add that in as one of the items to evaluate if there's a way to attach impact of certain types of traffic. That would be something for to evaluate. Yeah, and that could certainly be. Certainly in some streets because of loads, and as we have residential streets that have, as you're saying, that have heavy loads on them that are a product of, arguably they're a product of development. So that certainly is something that we can look at. And by the way, as the city chief administrative officer pointed out, that one of the things is that was we were going to add as one of the items is also the landfill to look at because there'll be costs that eventually we'll have to assume as we go to closure or to revitalization or whatever. So these are just examples of things.
Okay,
and
that would just
Is safety infrastructure part of that concept? Is that
yes.
that word could mean?
Yeah, safety infrastructure might be anywhere from safety facilities. It might be major safety equipment. For example, to the extent that a newer type or different type of technology is needed to address a new development. It might be in the canyon. It might be at Hamilton Cove. It might be anywhere else. That you would evaluate what some pro rata share of the cost of that impact should be borne by that new development.
And we may already have something built into building fees, so I'd like to ask our planning director also if she would be able to let us know if any of that type of impact is already in our building fees.
Yeah, and certainly what they'll do is look at, and that's a very good point. What they'll do is look at what existing fees we have in place, and then they'll look at what suggestions there might be and evaluate then what those might be.
And this might be just for the city attorney. Is there a mechanism in place when we do this, when we do vote for this in, and for the developer or the person doing this, can they go back 6 months and get somebody, or is it everything's just all forward? I mean, like, say once we do this, say, can we go back 6 months and get them, or just have to all go forward?
So when someone has their permits and they're entitled to go forward, we can't
go back and say, hey, you're 6 months behind.
If there are people in the system, but they're not vested in their rights in the system, we may be able to impose the new fees on them. It'll depend on where they are in their approval process. Right. But anybody who's got their approvals got their approvals, and those are the fees that they paid.
Okay,
and we can't go back.
So we can't go back after that.
That's, if I may, though, in my experience, that that's why part of the suggestion in this is for the fee developer to examine ways if we can adopt interim fees, and the interim fees would try to capture that development with the promise that once the permanent fee is assessed, that if it is less, that they would be refunded, and that and in Morgan Hill we did something similar to that, and in other communities that are fast developing communities, so we'll examine all of the way that you can do something, if you can, and that's a legal question. Can you do something on an interim basis and catch it and then resolve it with the final fee, and we will look at that if that's the pleasure of the council.
That was another question.
Perfect. Okay.
I appreciated your point, Councilman Hernandez, about the vehicles, the heavy trucks. It seems like there's more and more heavy trucks showing up on a regular basis, and that's something that we need to attach that fee on to, because it is destroying our roads, and eventually it's going to destroy our pipes as well. And then that's just going to come to us. And we need to have a system in place where we capture that money and we save it, so when there's a problem, we can fix it and not have to go into debt doing it.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion?
To approve number 4.
Second?
Yes.
I second it.
Public comment? Matt comments? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Item number 5. This is a fun one.
Okay. In your packet, first of all, I placed some new information from Carson Hilton. He's in the audience this evening also. And in your packet, there is the current code and some correspondence. I hope that you're able to read through all that. I also see Jerry Dunn's in the audience this evening, and he was one of the staff reports that was in your packet. And at the request of a couple council members, you wanted a visual of the parking. So where the two 2x4s are, that's about the approximate width. I say approximate because we ranged anywhere from 80 inches to 83 inches wide. Anyway, so that is 83 inches wide where the two 2x4s are. And then go dead center, and you see the two rainbow color tapes? That's the width of a regular size golf cart, so that's 55 inches. And then coming out, the next strip of 2 white tapes on each side is the 61 inches, and that is the first smart car, the ones that are in town right now. And then if we increased it by the 4.55 inches, and I did put 5 inches in the report, but it's actually 4.55 according to Carson, that is the 2 silver metal strips. So, and the handicap parking spots are a little bit wider. Now, this is the measurement, interesting enough, down like in front of Vaughn's and the SCI company. Going up the street, our newer ones, the diagonals, are only 77 inches wide, and this is 83. So they did get narrower, and that's what the direction was to Hamilton Pacific when they did it. So this is only the lower half of Metropole.
Okay. But by code, our auto-wet space is 72 inches by 120 inches.
Say that again, Cindy.
6 by 10. 6 foot by 10 foot is a auto-wet space. in our code. So it's
It might be
72
for
inches.
parking at your house, you mean?
If we were to build, yeah, I think that's what.
I think, yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think for what's considered a parking space for
If I were to
off-street
put a little
parking is 6
carport
foot
at my
by
house,
10,
yes.
Yes.
and then 8 foot by something for a full size. Okay. So
Which
this
is-
represents that autoette space that we were talking about.
Yes, because you were
Okay.
interested. I thought my direction was
Yes,
that you
you
wanted to know like the diagonals on Metropole.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we wanted.
So
Thank
this
you.
is the lower part of Metropole, and the upper part it's
A little
6
narrower.
inches narrower.
Narrower. Okay.
Right? Yeah.
So let's discuss.
We should tell the community what the item is we're talking about.
Oh, I
just got so
apologize, Cindy. Thank you.
Go ahead, Denise.
Open government.
This is just a discussion for a possible, if you were in consensus, to give direction to staff to come back with an ordinance amendment to change that part of the code that would allow for a wider autoette. An autoette is a golf cart sticker, which we've expanded to go to the low-speed electric vehicles in town and the smart cars, as well as, what are those little cars? The real ones?
Minis.
What is it?
Minis.
Mini
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 Coopers.
Coopers.
Mini Coops,
The old
no, and
ones.
the other ones that.
Oh,
people
the neighborhood electric vehicles. Not those.
The Hatsus.
The Hatsus.
And I don't know if you wanted to listen to Carson Helton first. And
It's probably a good idea.
And as you notice, he had other things that he brought out in his correspondence, but I told him that we were only addressing the width problem that. Okay.
Hello, for those of you that haven't met me, I'm Carson Helton. I'm with
Carson.
Mercedes-Benz Laguna. I've been on this project now for almost 4 years.
Carson, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can you talk directly into the microphone?
yes, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Thank you.
But this project's been going on now for about 4 years, an alternative to the golf carts. Plus, it gives alternative transportation. The autoette size, as you can see, with the white sticker, we're not asking for a whole lot of variance. It's not only the width of the car that I think it's an item for discussion, but I've gotten Mercedes-Benz to, so to speak, ante up some funds, as well as give us the opportunity to put a sales and service center here on the island. Have that ability so nobody has to take the cars to the mainland to get repaired. The difference between the new car and the old car is 4.55 inches overall, and you can see the difference from the parking space. But we have more opportunity, I think, than just the width of the car to think about when we're looking at between the electric technology that Mercedes has, the autoette program, and the Smart, I think, has been a pretty good fit. And I think as we move forward, we're going to get a lot more participation from Mercedes-Benz, and not only from Mercedes-Benz, but from Mercedes-Benz Laguna Niguel as an independent dealership. I've spent a lot of time on this in several years, and we've come a long way, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 102 cars now on the island?
I
Give or
have no
take?
idea. Yeah.
How many?
I think there's 100 or 102.
How
Now-
many of them are leased through your outfit, Carson?
Through us, Mayor, I'm going to say about 50 to 52%, give or take. I don't have a full, a full listing of all the vehicles. I'm
Right.
kind of guesstimating what I've seen in my time here on the island. But not only on top of that, we have a lot of leasees currently. Their leases are coming up, and a few of them, I think, are here. And most of them have extended their lease, and we will extend the lease up to 6 months. After that, it's give me your keys or let's find an alternative. And we certainly don't want to go to the other means to that. And we're willing to make some concessions as a dealership and do a bigger investment in the community. But not only take care of the residents, but us, a distributor, let's face it, we want more distribution on our cars. The electric technology is the direction we wish to go. We've agreed to put in the charging stations not only where the city would like to do so, we're willing to do it within the infrastructure of the island, whether that be Two Harbors, whether that be the airport, the new Vons, or where there's multiple locations here within the city limits that people that don't have the ability to plug in a car to charge it. And you swipe a card, that's at my expense. If it's a 1 hour or 2 hour limit, I'll install them, I'll maintain them. And if you have an electric car, you get a card, you're authorized to use it. You swipe the card, plug your car in. When it's done, you get alerted on your phone. You go pick up your car. Now, whether those charging stations where you guys would wish to put them, I mean, we're pretty open. We have the funds to do so. We're just wanting to see what the next steps would be.
Do you know what percentage of your cars are the electric ones versus just the low emission, good gas mileage ones?
Repeat that question.
I mean, there's electric ones, and then there's the ones that are just, they get really great gas mileage.
Standard combustion engines get about 40 miles per gallon.
Yeah. Do you know what the breakdown is of how many are electric here and how many are that?
As accurate as I can get, there's probably 31% electric. And only for the simple reason because a lot of the residents want them, but they got no way to plug them in.
Exactly. You can't take
They
them.
just don't have the ability. And engineering has told us that you've got to stay within 10 to 12 feet with a 110 power source. Now, on a 110 power source, it takes 8 hours to charge the car. On a 240 power source, it takes 4. So if the car is dead empty and a resident has a car needs to be charged, and say they go to park for the evening or park overnight, if we strategically put some charging stations and have 10 to 15 to 20 foot cords, and have alternative nights for different residents so they can keep their cars charged.
Right.
So there's some ways that we want to help and we want to participate. And I don't want you guys to lose sight. We're wanting the distribution. I mean, I'm going to be candid and very forward. Mercedes is looking at this as a pilot program, and I have everyone's attention right now. I mean, I've got them going, okay, where do we do next? What do we do next? What do we do next? And, we've crawled a little bit, and I'd like to ask now to, where do we take it to the next step?
Let me ask another question, because you're not the only people that make electric cars.
That's true.
So somebody else now buys an electric car that's small and wants to bring it over. How do they, can they still plug into you?
Well, the universal code, with the exception of Tesla, everything is universal. Now, we would like to ask they're proprietary to us. I can't make that mandatory, but I would think that if there's an alternative vehicle that is going to be charged at a station that we support, there needs to be some kind of a nominal fee to that. I
But
mean,
you're going to let these people plug in their vehicles for free?
yes,
Oh.
that's correct. I mean, we want to participate in the community. We want to participate in the electric vehicle program. Currently, right now, the batteries we have in our cars are manufactured by Tesla. They're lithium-ion batteries. They have a 10-year warranty on them, and we've had great success with them. The range is 68 miles. If you feather your driving, so to speak, quote-unquote, learn how to drive an electric car, you can get a lot more out of it. I'm getting as high as 90 out of mine. Believe it or not, I commute in one of those little things every day. It's not, I mean, I'm not only the brand manager, but I believe in the brand. And, I come to the island, I park my boat in the harbor, and I take the dinghy and park it on the dinghy dock, and I go in town, you get off Front Street, you cannot hear yourself. I mean, you guys live here on a day-to-day basis, and I'm looking at buying property here. But I think it would, it would give us and give the community an alternative to, the golf cart program is good. We're not trying to reinvent it. And I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. Just an alternative method to promote more electric cars and gas cars for those that don't have the ability to charge.
When you open up your doors like this, how far do they extend out past the body of the car? And are those doors bigger than they were with the older models?
Same size doors. Your 2¼ inches wheel well. The mirrors are 3/4 of an inch wider width on either side. So when you look at this diagram, that's body diagram, not door. I mean, it's body diagram, not including the rear view mirrors. So if I stuck both cars here side by side, same length, the length didn't change, just the width and the stance itself, because it made the car more stable. And that was the reason behind that. And I'd be happy to answer any of you guys' questions or guide me in the right direction. I guess that's the best thing for me to ask.
Space is very limited here, so we just seem to keep getting bigger, wider, longer, bigger. I just got a problem with the width. We're not that big of a town. Streets aren't that big. We have 3,000 golf carts, and we're gonna have. We can't have like parking spaces dedicated to for recharging for 30 vehicles or 40 vehicles. That's my biggest problem with it. I understand this place is noisy. There's way too many vehicles already. I've said that many times. We're trying to find alternatives for all that, but I appreciate what you're trying to do here for our community. I wish we didn't dig ourselves into the hole that we're in right now, which is pretty deep, because we just keep putting more and more and more and more vehicles and bigger vehicles, and it's destroying our streets. It's destroying our quality of life. I do appreciate what you're trying to bring to the community. I just think we're too far gone already. We got to back up a little bit.
The one thing, though, Joseph, I believe, is that when you have a smart card, that's giving people two for the price of one.
What do you mean?
Know what I mean? Because they don't need a golf cart. They only have that, and they can still go to the hills and take advantage of what we have out in the interior, which is really wonderful. Versus somebody having a golf cart and then possibly a regular vehicle when their name's off the list, like me. I've got a golf cart and a van, and if I just had one that could accommodate, I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I'm personally, I'm not so concerned about the width.
So you want to dedicate, I mean, that means we'd have parking spots for 30, 40, 50 vehicles, and there's another 3,000 golf carts that need to find somewhere else to park. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
We currently have 100 of them. So I guess these people that
and 30 of them are, he said 30 to 50, 50 of them are electric. So you got 50 electric.
If they're electric now, they're electrifying them somewhere, and we're not providing electricity for them. So they're already doing that somewhere.
Right.
So
you want to, what do you want to, where do you want to put the parking spots for the recharging stations? Like, that's what I'm asking is, are we going to start dedicating parking spaces for these new vehicles that are coming in? And we already have an overwhelming amount of other vehicles that need to park in the community downtown. So,
well, if people buy the electric ones now, knowing that it's their responsibility, I don't think we're doing an impact. I'm excited about thinking, though, if they could get those spots in the interior, so when they drive that little car in there, they can go to Little Harbor and they can go to Two Harbors and they can come back. They can take that trip. Now they can't take that trip.
Can I make just a simple statement? Maybe it'll help answer a few questions. This is the only car that's approved to go into the interior. The Conservancy has approved it. Again, I got to make the statement. I appreciate your comment, Mr. Sampson. I mean, I have to agree with you to one common sense. Where do you stop? I mean, and I agree with that. And you've got a lot more golf carts on an island than I thought we had. I mean, a lot. That's twice what I thought that was out there. Mercedes-Benz doesn't change body styles every 7 to 8 years. This car's been out now for 17 years, body style. This is the second change. That's it. We didn't anticipate it happening for another 7 to 8 years, but it changed on us. Unfortunately, those of us that are in the distribution world of the Mercedes-Benz product, we don't get much of a say-so. They tell us this is what we're going to get. So where does it stop? And that's why I want to address your comment. I think for the next 7 to 8 years, we're not going to see any changes in this car. What the competitors are doing, the microcar industry is a little niche. I don't think that you're going to see a whole lot of competitors' vehicles come and stand in front of you and say, hey, it's my understanding that a lot have in the past. We've been the first ones that want to make an investment in the community. I won't disagree with you about parking, but I think that the 4.5-inch variance in putting 50 more vehicles on the road, but if we put 50 more electric vehicles, if it's 100 more electric vehicles on the road, we're taking 100 golf carts away. So it's not like we're adding more. We're just trying to help offset some of that. I hope that helps.
Do you make it in 4-wheel drive?
I wish we did. We did.
So you don't.
We also make a Smart for 4. It's been out in Europe for 15 years.
It's probably longer, right?
Sir?
It's probably longer, right?
Yes, it is.
Well, let's not talk about that.
We'll talk about that in another conversation.
Yeah.
So I guess, excuse me, go ahead.
So are you talking about putting chargers out on the public streets so people could charge their cars there? Is that what you're talking about?
We would be absolutely agreeable to do that.
Okay.
That depends on your recommendation.
Correct. So then that would mean we'd have to find it. So say a golf cart comes and parks in that area where there's a charger. What happens now? We got to find. Now the parking's got to go over here, so we could park the Mercedes here. So we are talking about parking issues. If we had that,
I do agree with you.
Right.
Hopefully,
so there is an issue of parking.
Hopefully, definitely an issue of parking. You can see that as you walk around town. But hopefully, we could strategically put them in specific areas that would be conducive,
right,
and allow some of the residents that have golf carts that I can do a program with that costs them the same for electric vehicle, and they can drive it for free.
Yeah, maybe we could put. I mean, let's say this did pass, we could put one at City Hall or something. I mean, somewhere that's neutral, and we got to think futuristic. All this pollution and noise, fossil fuel. I mean, we're still going to be burning fossil fuel. That's how we generate our electricity here. Is high efficiency, low noise diesel generators. So, I mean, we got to think forward. That's why we just got some new electric buses in town. So we're trying to work in this direction. I just hate to do this to the community. I mean, some people will enjoy this. If you have one of these vehicles, I'm sure they're really nice vehicles. It's just there's already people that have their vehicles here. We've already established a way that the vehicles work here. Implementing a whole new system that is just going to broaden the impact on the streets. I'm having a hard time with that. Somebody convinced me that it's a good idea that we put bigger, wider cars.
I can do that. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Let me ask some questions first, Jerry. Let me ask some questions first. Carson, how long does it take to fully charge a vehicle?
8 hours. How long does it take?
8 hours?
It takes 8 hours at a 110 charge rate, which is the standard charger that comes with the car. On a 240, it's 4 hours.
Okay, 244. So one of the things that comes to mind is how do you regulate if you have 30 cars in town, you're obviously not going to have 30 charging stations, but how do you limit or make it fair, so to speak, so that not the same person is parking in the same spot because they're the first ones there and they're taking a charging station. So obviously that's something to talk about down the road if that conversation comes up down the road, but it would be a concern of mine just to make it fair to everybody in the community that would want to charge. I absolutely agree that we need to look at a bigger picture vehicle-wise, and I don't want to convolute this conversation with the opinion that we have a transportation issue in our community. But this does move us in a direction that we have talked about, and that is part of our council goals, and that is to become a greener community, as well as bringing in more electric technology and better technologies to reduce emissions and all of that. Personally, I don't like the idea of limiting branding. I think it's unfair. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate from a business perspective that, of course we all want to be the only ones, but I'm not, would never be in favor, nor would I ever agree to approve that only one dealership, so to speak, could come in and do the business. I believe that as a city, we need to enforce our off-street parking. We have requirements on building off-street parking. I do believe that, again, part of a bigger picture that our council needs to discuss as part of transportation concerns, but part of our parking issues could be eliminated by having people utilize their off-street parking. So not necessarily your particular issue, and I don't want it to convolute our conversation tonight, but I do want to say, certainly for the council, that could help alleviate some of these parking issues we're talking about. One possibility that I thought about late this afternoon was if we were to agree to change the ordinance to allow for the wider car, perhaps a caveat of that could be you agree when you receive your sticker from the city on one of these smart cars that you are not authorized to park in angled parking, because there's very few angled parking spots in town. That's in front of Vaughn's and also now across from the new museum. Those are the only angled parking spaces that I can recall right now. There could be more, so don't hold me to that. But you agree that you would not park in an angled parking spot. And I'm pretty sure that a majority of the participants with those types of stickers would agree to that they could park in any parallel parking situation, but that they would refrain from using those particular angle spots. Is when we talk about the wingspan when the doors are open, that's where part of the concern comes in, that when you're going to Vaughn's and you're parked next to a golf cart, if you're skinnied right in there, sure, is it the golf cart participant might be able to exit their vehicle, but as the smart car, you're now creating the potential of damage to another vehicle. So if you're just not in that situation, then you're not creating that potential hazard. As far as the parallel parking of it, when you parallel park on our streets, whether you're a full-size vehicle or an autoette vehicle, you're still taking the space. So in justifying it in my head, these cars fit within the autoette space that our ordinance already agrees to. So you're still using the space, but you're within an autoette space, you're just a little bit wider. So that's where I don't want to throw out to the council that that's a possibility. And I think that's all I got for right now.
Can I respond to a couple of your questions?
Absolutely.
First of all, how do we regulate people from abusing the charging privilege? One, there's a slide card, just like a credit card, a magnetic controller that you're allowed to use it for, say, an hour a day. And if you're driving more than, unless you're going into the interior, you could say that that's above and beyond. But you have 1 hour. So if you went to go charge the car, you got 1 hour and you're shut off. So if you went to a different charging station, you've already used your hour for the day. So that parking spot, there's no sense of you parking there.
Oh, I see.
So that would kind of
But
address
what's going to keep me from, then I'm going to go to Vaughn's and then I'm going to go to the bar and have a beer and then I'm just going to leave it in that space after an hour and
get the ticket.
Well, there's no sense in parking there. If they're going to park there, it's just going to be a parking spot because they can't charge their car. Yeah, they're done.
Yeah. Most of the parking spots are kind of regulated, though. I mean, aren't they like an hour, 2 hours?
Mm-hmm. Your second question, having a competitive vehicle at the charge station. It's impossible. Good competition is good business. And if somebody has better technology and they bring it to council and it's of a good idea, we're not going to be the policeman of the charging venue. So, and the 5-pin hookups are standard. So whether you bring XYZ car out here, they're all going to charge with the exception of a Tesla. Tesla is way outside the guideline. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think I was speaking more in terms of, whether Toyota wanted to bring a car that fit within the standards. If Toyota wanted to bring a car over, or what was the other one? There's another one that's...
Yeah.
Well, we're not changing.
That's what I meant in terms of that.
We're not changing for another 7 years.
Yeah.
This body style will be here for 7 years. So I hope that addresses Mr. Sampson's concern that we're not going to come in year after year after year wanting to get another inch and another inch and another inch.
Or you need to tell your people when they buy the cars that
exactly.
If in fact they do that,
But then where do we stop with other cars?
Well, that's where we stopped years ago when we got the smart car approved as an autoette. When is the body style going to change? And we stood in front of you and said it's not going to change.
Right. Yeah. No, but saying another company comes in and says, "Hey, well, you gave this up. I bought this car, and we need a little more space." I'm just trying to, down the line, where do we stop?
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. I mean, I think everything's a good idea, but I'm just trying to think a little further down the road.
Well, I would like to ask, just in closing, I know you guys have got a pretty tight schedule. We're willing to invest in the infrastructure at Catalina, from the charging station to the service station, and until we get the sales and service facility determined. We've isolated some properties. It's a matter of working out some logistics. I've already outfitted 2 Sprinter vans that are able to come over here independently to come and do remote services. So current island residents don't have to spend what's been an average of about $700 a car to get serviced. So when I get 8 or 10 people that need car services, I'll bring the Sprinters over. We'll service them just as a remote basis. Okay. So we're looking for different ideas. And if you guys got some better ideas you'd like for us to review, we'll certainly do so. But
Mayor Pro Tem Olson, did you have some?
I have a more fundamental problem. This vehicle ordinance has been around since 77, 78, and we've gone through all these tweaks, but we've never addressed what the real issues are, which is we don't have 3,000 golf carts in town. We've got like 1,800.
1653 the last time we counted.
1653. But we also have 500 more that could come into town, the people that haven't exercised their rights to get a golf cart or get a smart car or get a small something.
Say that again, Oli?
There's like 500 residents in town that have not exercised the golf cart privilege, so that's still available to them if they wanted to, based on the residential thing. This is a report from Dudley last year before.
Those are the banked. Are you talking about the banked full?
No, I'm talking about I have a house here, but I don't have a golf cart now, but I'm entitled to a golf cart, and I can get 500 more golf carts or 500 more smart cars in town. Okay. And I'm tired of us piecemealing this. I'd like us to come up with a legitimate discussion and solution to the vehicle thing in town. I recognize that that's going to take some time. We've got to plan to sit and have the study session about what we're going to do, but we've got to do something. You say there's 100 smart cars here now?
Give or take.
Okay, we could add another 300 smart cars. We don't have time.
I won't disagree with that. I think it's possible.
And I think we need to take a look at the vehicle issue in Avalon globally as opposed to 4.55 inches. And whether it turns into like it is for for full-size vehicles, 2 off for 1 on, or whether it's a freeze it and 1 on and 1 off, so we don't increase the numbers. But I think it needs further discussion. I think I'm tired of piecemealing this, and I'd like us to have a global solution, not a 4.55 solution.
And Mr. Dunn, would you like to speak?
Thank you. I currently have one of the electric smart cars that are the current size, and our lease is up, and we're hoping to purchase or lease another one of the newer ones that are the 4.5 inches wider. One of the things that I've done a lot of research looking at a lot of the different vehicles that are both electric and gas that are small. The objective would be to try to have a vehicle that could potentially carry 4 people, but the problem is it gets way too wide and way too long. It just, the Fiat, a few of the other ones out there, just, they're way outside the box. These guys have managed to keep this within the perimeters of what's pretty much allowable. In fact, even quite a bit shorter than the existing golf carts, being 106 inches on a smart car, and a lot of the existing golf carts are 120 inches all the way to the max of the code that's allowed. And so they're taking up a little bit less length in the parking spot than even a golf cart at this point. But what's happening is that if we don't allow the extra couple inches approved, then the smart cars will stop. You'll continue to go back to, I've already looked at it. Gone and looked at the E-Z-GO and also the Yamaha and what I could replace it with. And it's, even the brand new ones you see go by and they sound like a lawnmower going by. And I'm like, God, that's a brand new one. And it still makes that much noise. Compared to this electric, it's safer, it's quieter. I think that he's trying to kind of sweeten the deal with charging stations and some of these other things, but it's not something that's going to take up a parking spot. It's a charging station. If there was, Vaughn's decided to put a couple on their property that were for their customers, I don't think the city's ever going to allow a charging station on their property that's specific to a smart car, or even, like you said, that it would take up that spot for hours at a time. I don't think that's really what we're looking at here. We're just trying to continue a good thing that's been going on with the smart car to be allowed the either new people or people that currently have cars to be able to refresh their cars and replace them with the newer car that's a couple inch wider. That's the only objective here. He's been nice enough to be able to offer to do the service here on the island, which we've already had to do ourselves by shipping the car to the mainland, getting it down to Laguna, getting it back to the barge, getting it back over here, being without the car for a week or two while that's going on, plus the $600 or $700 that it costs to ship it. So he's willing to bring over these Sprinter vehicles and service these cars, or possibly set up a service location that these can be done at, which would make it extremely more convenient than having to ship the car to the mainland. I really haven't seen any other automakers step up like this, and it's not like we need to test this to see if it fits. There's 100 of them here already that are working fine, and everyone's happy with them. I just wish, unfortunately, they changed the width. I was just going to go get the vehicle, and then I realized, we got a problem here. If I get the vehicle and come down here and get it measured, it's not going to pass. So that's why I started peppering you guys with information about these vehicles months ago and trying to figure out how we can get this approved. And I know that, Carson's been involved with this many years now, and he's got most of these cars over here. And one of the things that he's, like I said, is trying to do is to, make it even a better deal. If you have a location you think a charging station will be convenient and won't take away from a parking spot, hey, great. He'll put a place in there, a charging station in there for you at no cost, so that people can do this. But currently, anybody that has it, whether it be a gas or an electric, I'm able to fortunately pull up in front of my house and plug right in. So, some people like on the flats where you have a sidewalk, you're not able to do that. So they'll buy a gas one, but still it's got to be a lot quieter and a lot safer than a golf cart. I'm sorry, I have no qualms against golf carts. I just think that we have a good alternative here and we should take advantage of it. So hopefully you'll see it, that this couple inches, and as Cindy said, if the restriction or an opportunity to get this approved means that you can't park in the diagonal golf cart parking, then that's fine. It can be in full-size parking space. I'm completely amenable to that. I don't think that's a bad idea either. If that helps us continue down this road to provide safe, clean vehicles instead of only be fit into this box where we can only buy a golf cart.
Thank you, Jerry, for your comments. That's good.
Thank you.
Jim Luchahan.
Hi. So I'll wear sort of two hats. I'm Jim Luchahan, resident owner of a smart car at 323 Catalina Avenue, and I'm president CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. On the Chamber side, I can say, and you're certainly capable of looking for this if you don't already know, on both TripAdvisor and on Facebook reviews, probably one of our most common negative reviews is about either noise or exhaust from golf carts. It's especially true among overnight guests who say it keeps them awake. Once you live here a little while, you start to sort of not hear that. But it is a common negative review of our community because of that noise. As an owner, I made the decision to buy a gasoline one because I didn't have a place to plug in. I live on the flats, no cords across the sidewalk. I wouldn't want to do that anyway, aesthetically or because of risk of injury. So having the added value of public charging stations sounds like a phenomenal solution to me, provided we can work around the logistics that you're already discussing. To quiet our visitor experience, to improve the safety of those who are driving a vehicle that's got airbags and doors and windshield wipers and driving lights and all of that, adds to the quality of life of our residents. So I think you have in front of you an opportunity to improve both visitor experience and quality of life for the residents. And as you know, most of you individually, I'm a proponent of greening the community, so I think this is a good step in that direction. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other smart cars or other people here want to talk on them? Oh, hey, Collier.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, I'm Collier Cook, resident of Avalon. I live up at 329 Triana. I'm the owner of an electric smart car. I I too am one of the leaseholders of Electric Smart Car who the lease is expiring. And I've already had my extension, and I was planning on receiving the new lease at the end of November. So Mercedes-Benz has granted me a 1-month extension, and I really do hope that you see it to amend the ordinance to allow for the change in width. So thank you.
So even if we did change the ordinance, Carson, this isn't something that happens tomorrow. So what about these people with expired and soon to expire leases? Would you continue to extend them?
No, Mercedes gives us the opportunity for a short window of an extension. Once the extension is concluded, we take the asset back. So in essence, 6 months is the maximum. A lot of our residents and a lot of our customers now are already 3 to 4 months into that extension because we've had this car out now for 11 months. So at the end of that, just like he had just mentioned, he's got 30 days. After 30 days, we have to pick the car up, unfortunately, unless they purchase the car. And there's a reason why we lease versus purchase with our program, because it's a lot more competitive.
And what happens to that asset?
That asset comes back to us and it goes back to auction, or we put it as a certified pre-owned car back on our lot for sale. Okay. And that's kind of what we wish to do here. We wish to have pre-owned vehicles here available and new cars here available.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no way we could... If Collier's got another month, you're going to be walking or something. Or,
I'll loan him a car.
That's the trick, how to get people to walk, right? At least just get up and
the company's got a few vehicles.
In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask, for us to continue this conversation. I would like to ask for a continuance. I think there's a happy medium that we could all arrive on that makes all parties agreeable. I'm willing to invest the time, which those of you who know me, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm willing to invest in the community, and I think it's good for Avalon. And just listening to a few other people, from the noise, from the direction the electric vehicles are going, I think it falls right into the guidelines of what the objectives of the city are.
No, I agree. In with regard to Councilman Cassidy's comments and Jerry's, that they could maybe park on that other kind of parking, but now we're going to hear from the big vehicle folks that are able to that. Because if they're now parking on Metropole on the right-hand side of the street, what about the pickup trucks? Now we've taken up the pickup trucks.
That's not the deal, though. They can't park in the full-size only vehicle area.
Right.
They're not a full-size vehicle.
Right.
And they can't park in the diagonal either. So basically, Ole had a good point. We have to look at the big picture here. I agree. But I'm glad Cindy brought that up. That was a great point, because it's a wider vehicle. You step out of a golf cart. This, you have to open the doors. It might not be logistically possible to do it on our streets in certain areas. So we have to have new like variances for these cars, and I think Ole had a good point. We got to look at the big picture. We got to definitely. I'd like to definitely consider what this vehicle is. I'd like to see one and see how it fits on the street somehow. Does anybody have one of these over here? They're just
no, not the new one.
To answer your question, we've had some residents that have already purchased the cars, and we've had to take them back because they didn't know they didn't fit. I would be happy to bring a couple of vehicles over at my expense for you guys to enjoy.
I'm just concerned with the people who are going to end up that aren't going to have a vehicle, that already have one, and they're not going to have a vehicle. We're going to force them to go out and, if they need something, buy a electric golf cart or a whatever, when that's really not.
We're not forcing them to do that.
Some people like do this. Doors and windows and windshield wipers, and not all. Not everybody.
Right. I want to just, only speaking obviously for me personally, I want to take away the decision being based on the fact that Collier's lease is expiring in 30 days. I want to take that personal component out of it. As far as the vehicle itself, making a decision like this a special provision is being asked. So I don't necessarily think we need to make it easy for it to be a parking spot on Metropole. Metropole is what it is. We have angled parking. These cars aren't going to fit in it. You don't get to park there. We have full-size vehicle spots that are specifically for full-size vehicle spots. You don't get to park there. There is a lot of other parking on one side of the street down by the rental cart lot and one or two spots near around the Vons. So like a lot of us have to do when we want to go park to go to the grocery store, if there's not a spot there, you wait until there is a spot there. So I don't want to make a special provision for parking other than to say, this kind of is what it is. It's a larger vehicle, autoette vehicle. It may not be able to park, but I don't want that to be a decision not to grant it. But then also, I don't want to just grant it because leases are expiring. I want it to be a logical decision. I do agree, as I said before, that we have a bigger transportation issue to look at. We have parking issue to look at, but those should be part of our transportation overall. That's not just this vehicle. That's our overall transportation.
Everyone brings up concerns that are valid. We all do. When you look at it from an environmental perspective, when you look at it from a safety perspective, it's your family in the car. You do have airbags. You are caged just like an F1 roll car with the Iridium cell. You do got heat and air. You do got wiper blades. Just a safer vehicle. We all know that. Parking is an issue. And we can have this conversation on and on and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. We're only asking for a small little variance. We're not trying to change the whole ordinance, just a little variance on this car. And for that, I agree. Mr. Olson brought up a valid point. Not put a Band-Aid on it. Take a look at the whole transportation program as a whole. But I don't think that's going to be done in a year. I don't think that's going to be done in 2 years. But that's me from the outside looking in. I'm soon to be a property owner here on Catalina. A substantial investment from a personal perspective and from a business perspective. I think it fits. But that's up to you guys to decide. Right now, we've got 18 people that their leases are coming up for renewal within, 60 days? Within 120 days, we have another 11. Some of those are city employees. So those are just items I'm going to have to address. Mm-hmm. Do we want to put them without transportation? No. Would we extend their lease for another month as if we anticipate some change? Yeah, we probably would. We want to make the concessions. It's hard for me from standing up here representing Mercedes-Benz and Mercedes-Benz of Laguna Niguel when they're wanting to do a $500,000 investment in the island, and I tell them I can't get the variance approved by some 4.5 inches. It's hard for me to keep their attention.
I mean, and I know we're going to continue to discuss this, but I guess one of my things would be for those people with existing leases, perhaps, but no additional might be a concession. I don't know, the 18 and the 11, but no new leases until we have things solved. That's just another thought for when we talk about this again.
And I still have to, today we have 22 people that want the new car.
22 new people.
22 new
22.
people.
22.
New people.
And we're providing them old body style vehicles. I delivered 2 today. We're providing them old body style vehicles until we get this worked out. So they're investing in the car. They're not leasing them. They're buying them, but they need the transportation.
Oh, so they're just so you're selling them the old ones and they'll just swap them over with the new ones.
That's correct.
Well, that was kind of presumptuous.
Well, they believe in the brand. They believe in the car. They believe in the direction.
Presumptuous of the city and of Mercedes-Benz.
I got faith in you guys, and I'm sure they do too.
Okay.
I don't know any of you, or very few of you on a personal level, but I enjoy coming to Catalina.
Right now.
My family enjoys coming here.
We do too.
And I want to continue, the direction we're going, and I hope that we can continue this and talk about it further.
Only get us off dead center. You're good at that.
We'll try. I could support something like this if at the next council meeting we have a golf cart freeze. whatever the number is, the one on, one off. So we wouldn't be adding any, we wouldn't have the potential of adding any additional ones to town until we address the issue globally.
And in the meantime,
So if somebody's building a new house and they have a duplex,
Too bad.
they don't get one. Okay. I mean, just throwing it out there.
so you so talk that through just so I understand a little bit more. Let's
So
just,
the way we handle big cars right now
Exactly.
is it's two have to leave before one can come on.
Right.
Okay, as opposed to go that radical, how about you say one golf cart's got to leave, or one smart car's got to leave, or one Daihatsu's got to leave before one comes in, added the inventory.
One has to leave the island.
Yes, one has to leave the island.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay at our 1,655 or whatever it is until we can address that big issue.
well, just even bringing that up in the over the television today is going to bring some comments. So that's good.
Or this would be at the next meeting before we discuss this.
Yeah,
like
but I
that.
mean, they're hearing this today, so the phones will start to ring, which is good.
Probably.
Well, we're here to make
I know.
decisions that are going to affect the community in a good way, and not everybody's going to like all the decisions we make. We have to start
Exactly.
doing these things.
Exactly.
I think that's a great idea. You asked Oli to do that. It's a good thought. I've mentioned the vehicles over the last couple meetings. Just because it's getting out of hand. And you made a good point, Beetle, that basically if you do buy a house here, or if you build a house, you can have a vehicle. I mean, that's how it is now. In other words, everybody else has a 25-year waiting list, but
You'd have a cart.
you could have a golf cart. Yeah, if you have off-street parking,
Yeah.
Part of this was an early discussion, which Cindy talked about, is we have, actually, I asked the city manager to talk to the city attorney about putting an ordinance on a future agenda that says if you have off-street parking, you've got to use it. Right. Which would, I think, benefit the whole community, because I know that I personally have one car parked in my garage and one car parked on the street, because I can do that. And I would be happy to change that. The issues about new construction and about off-street parking. Well, if you have off-street parking, maybe that doesn't impact on-street parking. It just impacts downtown parking. Well, let's kind of talk that through.
Unless it's a public street that doesn't have the driveway easement, because I'm not into curb cuts at all anymore.
Yeah, you're talking about the curb cut takes up 2 spaces to add 2 spaces. Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah.
You
lose the spot when you.
But that's part of the big discussion.
Yeah. I do like your.
He's getting one, and we're losing one.
So the direction then would be to bring back a drafted change to the ordinance along with your idea of one off, one on.
Yes.
For the golf carts. So that would be the direction to staff.
Yes.
And the other one is that we haven't gotten is you have to use your off-street parking.
No, but I think Scott's working on that.
That's separate, yeah.
down the
That's
road.
already in works. Right, that's already in work.
Yeah, that's in works.
busy.
Oh,
Scott's been busy, yeah, but that's already been.
okay. I know it has.
That's
been,
in
but I-
process. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
didn't know
That's
if
in
the
process.
Ball was dropped. Okay.
No.
So just to reiterate, the direction would be to bring back a change in the ordinance to allow for the change in width. I would like to throw in also that the angle parking, the concern about the angle parking, and also that the one on the island, one off the island for the vehicles.
I think that's a very, very good approach, personally speaking.
See, I'm not even so concerned on that lower part of Metropole, but I think I'll probably go along. But on the lower part of Metropole where they're wide, I don't see a problem, because if you're driving a Suburban in a parking lot and you got a Suburban and I got a Suburban and we both open our doors, we say, excuse me, because there's people bump people's doors all the time. Nothing is so I personally don't have a big problem with the 4.55, but that's me.
I would also be willing to, just like I did before, that those of you recall, I left a car parked up here at City Hall with the keys with Dudley. When you wanted the car, you could take it out at your convenience, keep it overnight, do whatever you wish to do with it. I still have the city's paperwork in our system that allows me to do so.
Okay.
So I would be happy to ship a couple cars here, provide the keys with Dudley. You guys use them at your convenience. Use them as a personal vehicle. Check them in, check them out.
I'd like to see how the vehicle fits on the street. That's all. Is the main thing is because we've already, I've already said this, but we've already established like our parking for, in our vehicle types here. It's just taken a long time. It's the evolution of transportation on Catalina.
Correct.
And I'm not reluctant to change. We just have to make the change. Oli made a good suggestion. We have to give and take here. Obviously, we're growing into the future. We have to think about, being environmentally friendly, sustainable in some matters. Like this, I think we're going in the right direction here because of Oli's suggestion. I like that.
I'll make the contact with Dudley, and I will let him know that I'm going to be delivering a car here. Okay. I'll make sure all the proper permits are on it and all the adequate information is correct, and Dudley can be controller of the keys if that's what you guys wish. But I'll go ahead and plan on getting
I'd
that
like to
taken
see
care
how
of.
these fit up, like on maybe on the terraces, on some of the small roads.
Sure.
I mean, because we can go ahead with this, but I still want to see how it drives on the street and how it parks on the street. Is the main thing.
Be happy to accommodate that for you.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions?
And there are comments from the community? Okay. Thank you, Carson.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you and your families.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you might want to be here on the 20th.
Can I just ask a quick question? Sorry. I'm a little confused because I did hear Carson. I didn't know the width of the doors and stuff, and he mentioned that the doors are the same width. So if the doors are the same width, and it looks like that maybe the fenders or something bulge out a little bit, it seems like that the car is still parking in the same spot and still opening up in the same width as an existing smart car. So having it on the I can see the problem where you can say, well, it's not an autoette and it's not a full-size vehicle. Where do you park? So it kind of seems to me that, as you're mentioning, Annie, is that the parking in the diagonal might not be as big a deal as we're making it out to be. It's just my opinion because it seems like the doors are opening just as far, and most of the time you're pulling in next to a golf cart anyway. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if the diagonal thing is that critical either.
But that's why
The doors are, but the doors are opening up the same width that they were before, but the
Yeah.
vehicle's 4 inches wider, 4.5 inches wider.
It's absolutely necessary.
But is it the whole base of the car? Or is it just the fender wheel well type things that's wider?
The width of the car is 4.5
Right.
inches wide.
Yeah.
The doors are going to open up a little bit
Yeah.
wider because of the width of the car.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah, that's okay. That would
And it isn't as if it's every street in town that parking becomes a concern. It's
Right.
it's just right on Metropole.
And once the Vons moves, then it's not going to be a problem anyway.
There might be more additional things that we add on to this. I don't know about it yet. That's why I want to drive it. I want to check it out.
Sure, no.
Because I'm not sold on it yet. I like the idea for the community, but
No.
Square peg, round hole. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now, whether this is that situation. But I want people to be able to have this new innovative and technology and green technology, but I just want to make sure it's right for our community.
Madam Mayor, would for clarity on the motion, we want to be sure your staff gets this right. So I believe there was a motion. I'm not sure if there was a second.
No motion.
Just direction. Just direction.
Yeah. I think you should have a motion, and you should give us direction with a motion, and then you should vote on it, and then direct us to do it. So the minutes will reflect that. That's just a suggestion.
I will amend my direction to staff to be a motion to direct staff with all the other items.
Thank you.
Call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Council.
All ayes. Thank you. So between now and December 20th, anybody that doesn't have a golf cart could come forward and get one. Is that correct?
Yep.
Or autoette permit.
Yep.
Okay. So is it going to be? Okay, item number 6, Housing Authority.
Thank you, Mayor. Or, excuse me,
Yeah,
what do we call chair? Chair. Do you have to call? Do you do the? Do you call the order? Or no, we are
No,
in
I
order.
did it all together at the
I
beginning.
apologize. You do have a report on the Housing Successor Agency annual report for fiscal year 2015-16. As you know, with the demise, the fateful demise of redevelopment in 2012, there was successor agencies were required under the statutes. You wisely chose to have, for housing purposes, the Housing Authority of the City of Avalon Housing Authority, to be the successor agency for housing. A very wise move that not many agencies did in California. You have to follow annual reports. You do have Ms. Kim is here, who can give you an update on that report before we make the submission.
I'm Susie Kim with RSG. We're a consultant to the Housing Authority, and we help prepare the annual report, which is required to be filed with the state by the end of this month by law. And it reports Avalon's compliance with various legal requirements that were set for spending funds that are generated by former redevelopment agency assets. And just to touch briefly on those requirements and how you're doing, Avalon is in full compliance. One of the requirements is an annual cap on how much you can spend on administrative items, which for Avalon is about $270,000 per year. And in fiscal year 15-16, you only spent just over $4,000 on maintenance items. There's also a requirement if you do spend money on projects that you spend on certain income levels, one being at least 30% on extremely low income households. Since you didn't have any project expenditures so far, you're exempt from that requirement. But it's something to keep in mind if you do spend on projects in the future with housing asset monies. There's also a requirement to develop or dispose of properties that are not already used as affordable housing that were transferred from the former redevelopment agency. There's only one property that is not already used for affordable housing, and that's 206 East Whitley. And I believe there are plans underway to either develop or sell this property. The deadline for that is August 30th, 2017, but that can be extended by 5 years by a simple resolution.
By what?
By 5 years.
Oh, by resolution. Okay.
There is also a requirement to only produce a maximum amount of housing that is restricted to seniors within the last 10 years. And there have been no deed restricted rental housing units assisted by the Housing Authority or city in the last 10 years. So right now you don't have to worry about this requirement. But again, if you do assist rental units in the future, a maximum of 50% can be restricted to seniors within a 10-year period. And then lastly, there's a requirement not to accumulate an excess surplus. And this requirement is basically encouraging cities and housing authorities to actually spend their monies and not just hold on to it and not do anything with it. Simply defined, if you have an unencumbered cash balance of over $1 million, so this is $1 million that you have no plans on what to do with it, then you need to start looking at how you're going to spend this money. Right now, the cash balance at the end of 15-16 was just about $450,000, so you are under that limit. But it's good to keep in mind in the future that you want to make plans to spend your housing asset money so you don't, so you're in compliance with the excess surplus requirement. And those are the main requirements, and we're asking you to adopt a resolution approving the report. And I'm available for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Susie. Any questions from council?
Yeah, what can we spend that money on? I mean, is that on improvements for some of these houses like East Whitley? I mean,
You can. So,
And you suggested that, right? You should recycle this money?
yeah, so you can spend it. There's a maximum limit on admin, and then if you do spend the money on projects, you just have to make sure that at least 30% of the funds spent are on extremely low income households. And then no more than 20% can be spent on 60 to 80% area median income households. And there can be none of these monies can be spent on moderate income households. So those are people who make 120% or more of the area median income. But this pot of money is separate from a different fund that the Housing Authority had that is not as restricted. And that fund has over $4 million of funds available.
And that is actually more flexible monies. It's your former RDA money, so that the redevelopment agency monies that you had a bond prior to the demise of redevelopment that had certain opportunities that for moderate housing that is still preserved, that you still have that ability to go up to 120%, as I understand it, of the median, as opposed to these other monies that Ms. Kim's talking about. And so in what we'll be doing in your next item is we're at your direction. We're going to be looking at opportunities for a broad range of housing for the community.
That was my next question: was how applicable is this? Is some of our situations for the money that we have?
Yeah, right now, what you're in a situation with a finite amount of money to do, and of no fault of your own, but because of the demise of redevelopment, there's a finite amount of money that is available for affordable housing purposes. And as Ms. Kim explained, there's two pools of money. One is more heavily restricted to 80% and below, and then there's another pool of money that is up to 120% of median. And what I'd like to discuss, and we will be discussing with you in the early year and as part of the your goal setting, is to look at opportunities we might have to have a new annual source of money for housing programs. That would be a resupply annually, as you used to have with the Avalon Community Improvement Agency. And we'll talk about, at that time, we'll talk about some opportunities that we think exist for revitalizing the source of funds, right, so that the Housing Authority can do, and the redevelopment is what the council has wanted to do, is to deliver affordable, or help encourage the delivering of affordable housing with people using CNC, which is your next item on the agenda on your exclusive negotiating agreement. So we're excited because A, you have some money, B, you have the interest, C, there's the need, and D, you're going to be setting some goals for the future, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the community.
It's absolutely something the community has needed. I mean, even the little bit that we can actually participate in this is really important right now. Yeah, it's good news.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution?
Yeah, make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Comments? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Okay, item number 7.
I'll just introduce and say that we do have Barry and Todd Cottle here. There are people who have competitively selected to assist the city, the agency, with the delivery of affordable housing project. And Ms. Hull is here. She's really put together the ENA, an exclusive negotiating agreement with CNC, and she may have some comments that she wishes to make to you in regard to that agreement.
Thank you. So before you tonight is your ENA. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while. We did the NOFA as you requested, interviewed some applicants, you all selected CNC. So this will give us a year to work with them to identify sites, income mixtures, unit sizes, prepare a market study. We had done a market study. Mr. Flynn had done one for us back in 2014-ish, I think it was. So they'll be updating it and preparing a new one of those. And then we'll be setting some stakeholder meetings, coming back to meet with the council once we've got some ideas as to how we're proceeding and some recommendations for you. So we'd request that you approve the ENA this evening.
And is 360 days, 1 year, is that enough time?
There are
Couple
potential extensions in there,
Right.
and then
We saw that.
We figured you would
Okay.
want to see it at that point. Make sure we're making progress, moving in the right direction. You can always extend it, like we did Mr. Flynn's.
Yeah, perfect.
What I may note, you may, Mayor, if I may mention that with Barry and Todd Cottle, they've already started preliminary work. They've already mapped out and identified sites. We did a brief tour today at their peril, since I was driving. It looked at some additional sites, and so they're well into this process. And that was exciting to know that they have already initiated work in that regard.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Cool.
Did you have anything you'd like to say?
Thank you. I'm Barry Cottle, along with my partner Todd. Just to keep it's kind of late for everyone, but we're very excited to be here. We're very excited to be working with the City of Avalon. As your city manager said, we did go out today. We spent all afternoon. He did drive us around. We're back here safe and sound, but we saw some good sites. But we will be working hard. We've been working with your city attorney, so we're just excited to come back to you next time and start this whole process.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you.
Yes.
I'm glad you said something too, because I know you've been sitting here all night. Yeah.
Thank you very
It's
much.
important. Thank you for your hard work.
Council?
Move to approve the ENA agreement, authorize the executive director to sign the same.
I second that.
Councilman Sampson? No further comment. Call for the vote.
All ayes.
In a closed session, correct?
No closed session.
No, come on.
Please, come on.
Yeah, down at the locker room.
Okay, if there's no further
Good night,
action.
Tony.
Good night, Tony.
Down in jail.
Adjourn.